Under a sky heavy with clouds, across an endless ocean of white, something colossal once walked the earth. Each step it took carved a crater in the snow, 10 times wider than a man's hand. It was the Mammoth, Lord of the Frost, ruler of the frozen wind. For thousands of years, it defied the storms that could uproot forests and freeze rivers in their tracks. But the age of ice was not a season, it was a slow execution. And beneath its eternal winter, an empire of giants began to fall. Their story isn't just about extinction. It's the story of a struggle between muscle and climate, between blood and ice, between life and the unstoppable march of time. Every gust of wind wrote a new line in the final chapter of their existence. The mammoth wasn't just an oversized elephant wrapped in fur. It was a masterpiece of survival. Its coat came in 2 layers, one soft and warm as firelight, another long and thick enough to break the wind itself. Even its ears had evolved, small and tight to the body, to keep the warmth locked inside. But the mammoth's greatest strength wasn't its size, it was its family. They lived in herds, led by wise matriarchs who guided them across frozen plains. Imagine dozens of towering giants marching through the snow. Their heavy footsteps echoed across the tundra like the heartbeat of a forgotten world. Food was their battlefield. In a land where green was a memory, the mammoth clawed through layers of ice just to taste a mouthful of dry grass. Its massive trunk shoveled snow aside, searching for roots buried deep in the frozen soil. Day after day, they ate endlessly, not out of greed, but survival. Each bite was another hour of life bought from the frost. And yet nature had already begun to turn its back on them. The ice that once stretched beyond the horizon began to retreat. The plains where the mammoth had roamed for ages broke apart into swamps and forests too thick for their colossal bodies to cross. The land that had once been their kingdom became their trap. Every step sank deeper into mud. Every season brought less to eat, and every sunrise felt colder, longer, quieter. Extinction didn't come as a roar, it came as a whisper, a slow, quiet suffocation that lasted centuries. And then came a new enemy, small, fragile, intelligent, humans. They didn't fight the mammoth with muscle, they used fire, patience, and traps. Around their fires they studied the herds, traced their paths in the dirt, and waited. When the hunt began, it was chaos, spears whistling through the wind, fire reflecting in 1,000 frightened eyes. A mammoth would fall, shaking the earth. And with it, life for an entire tribe. Its flesh became food. Its fat became warmth. Its bones became homes. Every part of the giant was used, honored, and gone. To the humans, the mammoth was not just prey, it was salvation. But survival is a zero-sum game. As the climate turned harsher and food grew scarce, the hunts became relentless. Intelligence triumphed over strength. Generation by generation, the herds grew smaller, until the white plains that once thundered with life fell silent. The last of the mammoths fled north to remote islands, cut off by rising seas. There, a few dozen survivors lived in isolation, surrounded by ice and salt. The grass was gone, the cold was merciless, the silence was eternal. Mothers lost their calves, the herds lost their future, and the once mighty giants became shadows of themselves. Still, they fought. Even at the edge of existence, the mammoth refused to bow. Their footprints remained etched in the frozen ground, and their tusks pointed skyward like frozen prayers to a forgotten god. Imagine a handful of giants standing against a world that no longer wanted them, their deep calls echoing through endless darkness. One by one, their voices faded until the last fell silent. And just like that, the age of giants ended. No explosion, no chaos, just silence. A silence so deep it still lingers in the ice. Centuries later, people found them again, their bodies perfectly preserved beneath the frozen earth. Flesh, hair, blood still red, as if time itself had frozen mid-beat. To ancient tribes, they were creatures of myth, spirits from beneath the ground, dying when they touched open air. To traders, their tusks became ivory treasures, carved and sold as relics of a lost world. To scientists, they were a message from the past, a time capsule sealed in ice. Today, their story isn't over. With every strand of frozen DNA, scientists are piecing together the code of the mammoth, a blueprint of resurrection. Some dream of bringing them back, merging their genes with living elephants to walk once again across the Arctic tundra. Not just to study the past, but to rewrite it. Behind that dream lies something older than science: humanity's refusal to let go of wonder. Because the mammoth was never just an animal. It was a symbol of endurance, of beauty, of time itself. It stood where no life should, thrived where nothing could, and vanished only when the world changed beyond recognition. And yet, in every gust of cold wind, in every frozen plain, its shadow still walks. A reminder that no strength is eternal, that even giants fall, and that the earth always moves on, carving new stories from the bones of the old. The mammoth didn't just die. It became a memory that refuses to fade, a legend that still breathes in the frost.